dispute is not the addition made on account of certain purchases not made from 7 parties. Not. But the assessee not is manufacturing, not, amongst other things, not refined lead and alloy. And there are 3 raw materials which go into the manufacture of this. Not. One is lead ingot, not remelted lead ingot. Then there is not lead scrap and lead concentrate. Now these 3 raw materials, not, there are different recovery rates in terms of conversion not from the raw material to the finished goods. Not from the lead ingot, not, the recovery is 99%. But not the other 2, it is lesser. So not in the tax audit report, not, it's a requirement under the law that in the tax audit report which I file, not, which I submit to the department, I have to mention not the yield, the recovery not which has been made. Now, I will show from the record note that in the tax audit report, this particular yield was there. The yield was mentioned not in a consolidated way in respect of all 3. Now, the dispute here is with regard to the lead ingot which was purchased, but from not in respect of scrap or concentrate. Lordship. Now, I'm just giving the a broad picture, then I'll take my lords into the documents. Not in course of the assessment proceedings, I was asked to furnish the income tax returns of some of these suppliers. So I said, look, I do not have their income tax returns, but they are. I've checked the GSTR portal. They have filed their GST returns. That data is there. So then look, he issued me a show cause notice, and that I had been allowed credit in respect of these purchases. So look, he issued me a show cause notice saying that there is no digital trail footprint because their emails are not available, so we cannot find them. And you show cause why this should not be added in your assessment. But I was asked to give the transactional documents. I furnished everything. I gave all the documents, and he still went. And his show cause notice said in the GSTR portal, these sellers have reported a turnover which is less than what you have shown. They had shown some 45 crores, which is not including GST. After addition of GST of about 8 crores, it becomes 53. So the actual difference is some 3 crores, not the larger difference which they say, because they have reported it net of the tax. My accounting is including the tax. The tax is about some 8 crores. So that notice particularized all these things, and then in the assessment note, he added the amount, saying that they cannot be, there is no digital footprint, no email address, they cannot be found, and takes note of my submissions regarding because I submitted the purchase details, the documents apart from document, the quantitative details of purchases, consumption, stock, the sale of finished goods. I furnished all that data. That yield part was there in the tax audit report before the assessing officer. So he expressed the suspicion that looks like the assessees purchased elsewhere, but not from these people. But he nevertheless went ahead and added the amount, the entire amount under section 69C. Now that section 69C by itself, that section does not apply. Because the section is invoked where I cannot explain the source of the purchase. That is money that I have paid. The source of that money, I have placed the section in due course. If I cannot explain the source of the purchase, then that amount gets added. But here, the source of the purchase is there in the books. They are questioning the purchases themselves. So this section itself, I will show, does not apply. But I appealed before the Commissioner appeals against the addition. So the assessment, the sole ground was that these people cannot be, there's no digital footprint, no email ID cannot be. And yes, there's one other thing. He said that I'd send notices and they could not be found. The record shows that one of them was served. He says one was served, but it didn't come. The other refused. So it's not that all 7 were not found. The record will show that one was served, didn't turn up, one refused service. But matter traveled up in appeal. In appeal, the Commissioner appeals called for a remand report. In the remand proceedings, I participated. Subsequent to the assessment, there was a search action against the assessee, in which there was an investigation with regard to these suppliers also, it seems. So the assessing officer looked into the appraisal report and said that there are two of these people, apart from the other two, one which was served didn't turn up, one refused service, two were found. But they had given statements denying the transaction. The entire statement was not furnished. Some questions and answers were extracted from those statements. One person said, I'll take my notes with the statement. One person said, I'm a plumber. The other person said, I'm a crane operator. And they disowned. So when this was put to me, I asked for cross-examination. That cross-examination was not granted. In fact, the commissioner records in the order as if my stand was that I don't need to establish their identity and I don't need to refute their statements. Whereas I would submit the record will show that I asked for cross-examination. That the transactions had happened, that these people existed, because it's entirely through the banking channel. It's not that there's any cash transaction. But the material is worth several crores. So, that they existed at that point of time that these transactions took place, I have to show. But now if two of them have made self-serving statements, they have filed GST returns, but they have paid GST also. I've got the credit. Now, if they don't file income tax returns, but I omitted to mention this. Like the other ground the assessing officer said was that they had not filed their income tax return. That was actually the sore point, that they have not filed income tax returns, and therefore I came under a cloud because they had not filed their income tax returns. So the commissioner proceeds on the basis that I don't need to even, my stand is that I don't need to refute the statement made by them. But he cites a whole bunch of decisions dealing with share capital and loans. Section 68 cases, 7-8 pages of his order is devoted to those cases. But then he says that yes, the assessee has said that, well, I have purchased the goods, I have used them, I have manufactured goods which I have sold. So then he said, no, they have given only broad particulars. I will show that is not the case. Then he says, yes, it is possible, because the assessing officer had himself said so that goods were purchased from elsewhere, documents were taken from these parties. So he said that is possible, but then the assessee has to own up to that. The assessee has to say that which are the parties from whom they actually purchased, where did the money come from. So he said none of that is before me, so he sustained the entire thing. Now the matter travels up to the tribunal. The tribunal has not affirmed these orders. The tribunal has taken the two statements as sacrosanct. In spite of my having asked for cross-examination, the tribunal proceeds on the basis that they are the complete truth. Whereas I had all along disputed that. The relief which the tribunal has granted is not to, with regard to the GST credit, which I got. So that part they have deleted. The credit which was taken in respect of these purchases, that addition they have deleted. But this 48 odd crores, 48 crores has been sustained. The basic price of the goods on the basis again that I have not provided the yield. The tribunal says I have not provided the yield. The yield is in the tax audit report as to what the manufacturing process is yielded. That is there. Tribunal proceeds on the basis that what I have used is lead scrap. They say lead ingot. They have used is lead ingot, but they say scrap, that is lead ingot. So they're confusing themselves by treating my purchase as of scrap and not of lead ingot. But the lead ingot, as I submitted, the recovery for lead ingot is 99%. It's the other items where the recovery is on the lower side. The finding of the tribunal goes so far as to say that I have used undisclosed income to make bogus purchases. It makes no logical sense at all that somebody will use undisclosed income to make bogus purchases. The bogus purchases
a double negative.
That doesn't make.
This is true, that cannot be true. That is true, this cannot be true.
One can use undisclosed income to make purchases.
So that can be a bogus purchase.
Lordship. So they have actually I will endeavor to show that they have the tribunal has not missed the facts. They have not taken the facts into account in the correct perspective, and even the commissioner appeals order proceeds on the wrong footings But one of the points is not whether I am required to show creditworthiness of the persons from whom I have purchased. This is not a case of my taking a loan or my raising share capital. So he says that as a purchaser, I have to show the creditworthiness of my suppliers. I have received goods, I paid for the goods. Now,
but they can ask for the identity of the vendor.
That basic transaction I have to show has happened. I cannot, and that I did. I will show from the records. I just wanted to give an overall picture. Maybe I missed out some points. May trouble my lord with the
yes, we'll go into
lordship. Kindly first take volume 1. I request. Is the petition also
stay application? Yes.
I would be referring to volumes 1, 3, and 5. These are the 3.
What is this? It is 3. So you are set. Ready. They will join. You just inform me. Yes, sir. Volume 1.
Volume 1, if my lords are pleased to have page 124, which is the first page of the tax audit report. And
124.
124, where it starts. And just to show where it starts, 125 is the first page of Form 3CD. Kindly now have page 138.
Yes.
Serial number 35.
In the case of manufacturing concern,
give quantitative